Do you find yourself constantly comparing yourself to others and it feels like you're working your ass off day in and day out? But when you look around, it seems like everybody else is achieving the success, the career, the relationships, the woman, and it's like they don't even have to lift a finger. And you think to yourself, when's it going to be my time? Like, when am I going to catch a break? Well, in this video, I want to talk about how social anxiety makes you feel stuck in a hamster wheel day after day, month after month, year after year. And it puts up a concrete wall between you and your goals. And then I want to talk about how you can step back into your power and get back on track for your own personal mission. All right, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Ruben, and I used to suffer from social anxiety for decades. I was able to overcome it, and now I help other men fully overcome it as well. Now, going back to this comparison, feeling less than, that's what I call it, feeling less than others. And I remember really struggling with this one, constantly comparing, constantly feeling less than. And I was constantly chasing the next shiny object. I was never happy with what I had in my life. I graduated university with a computer science degree. Right away I started working, and then within like a few months I was like unhappy, hated the degree, hated the work. Then I was trying to get into MMA. I was trying to be an MMA fighter. Doing MMA trying to be an MMA fighter with a computer science degree is pretty funny. Then, you know, I switched over and I was bouncing over to trying to get into medical school. Then I went back to the software industry. So I was just constantly jumping around, chasing that next shiny object, and completely just unhappy. So what I noticed though, this was the part that made me really resentful, was when I looked around and I saw people working just half as hard and just coasting. So friends who did this exact same first degree, the computer science degree, just crushing it with their career. Or another example would be, you know, I dated my now wife. I dated her and I was with her for 8 years. 8 years. And I noticed my friends were just, you know, dating for a year, 2 years, getting married, having kids, having families. And I couldn't figure out what my block was, and I would just constantly compare myself to how they were progressing and then how I was stuck in the exact same position. And I remember I got to a point where I was just so sick of feeling like that on the inside. I was just so over it, overwhelmed. I was so sick of feeling that impending doom over my head. And that's what social anxiety does. It makes you feel less than. It fails to acknowledge what you've been through, how far you've come, and it prevents you from seeing what's right in front of your face and living your true potential. So if you want to read more about my story, I wrote an ebook. It goes fully into my story, everything I had to go through, everything I went through, and what I finally stumbled across to get over this social anxiety and feeling less than. So I'll link it below the video. You can download it for free and have a read through it. Now, going back to this feeling less than, this comparison kind of mindset, one important thing here to realize is, don't be fooled by the mask or the persona that people put forth in society, in front of you, in social gatherings, on social media. Don't be fooled by what they put out, you know, as their persona. And I say this because I've been in a ton of different, you know, support groups, men's groups, 12-step groups, a ton of rooms where people are getting really real about what's actually going on in their lives. You know, they're sharing things that they don't share with their social circles. They don't share at the workplace. they don't share on social media. And I can tell you this much, I've been in rooms where I've been sitting across from a genocide survivor over here in Canada, someone who's gone through genocide, lived through that turmoil, and sitting across the room from a wealthy businessman from the richest part of Vancouver. And they're both struggling with the same thing. Two completely different lifestyles on two completely opposite ends of the spectrum. And they're completely struggling with the exact same issue. And that issue is a lack of self-worth. Self-worth, a lack of self-worth, it's a humanity thing. So again, don't be fooled by the persona or the mask that people put forward, and be really careful if that's the only image of that person that you have access to, right? Because if you go on the assumption that everybody has it all good and everybody's all together, nobody else is suffering, it's just not reality, right? It's not reality, it's a judgment, and it's your ultimate responsibility to stay committed to reality at all costs. Not personal reality, not opinions, but reality. Stay committed to reality, because that's where you'll find the ultimate serenity in your life, okay? And the next thing I want to talk about is your anxiety levels. If your anxiety levels are high, the thoughts that come with that anxiety and just keep flooding your head, they're not in touch. This is why I say you got to stay committed to reality, because those thoughts that stem from anxiety, your fight or flight response, they're not going to be rooted in reality. But if you're waking up in the day and you're highly anxious, those thoughts are going to be flooding you all the time. That's going to become your norm, those types of thoughts. So it's really important to get those anxiety levels down and realize that whenever you're compelled, whenever you're forced into some sort of thinking, all or none thinking, or extreme thinking, like everybody's got it together except me, that type of thing. I'm defective, I'm doomed, that type of thing. It's coming from a frightened part of your personality, and it comes from painful emotions, right? So it comes from a painful emotion. Oh damn, I almost fell there. But so it comes from a painful emotion, fear, and then your fight or flight response, which triggers those thoughts. So it's really important to realize that when you get triggered into that comparison and thinking that everybody has it better than you, be aware of the mirror. There's something that person or whatever you saw that triggered you, it's triggering a frightened part of your personality, and that frightened part of your personality is compelling you to think these extreme thoughts about the world. So that's the other thing. Be very, very aware of the mirror. What is it about other people that's triggering that painful emotion in you, that's triggering those anxious thoughts of comparison and those thoughts of you being less than? That's really important to get down to. And ultimately, you want to be able to shift out of those frightened parts into your true self. Okay, so that's really important. You want to be guided through this true self. You want to be acting in accordance with this true self like 95% of your day. You don't want to be pulled in these different directions by these frightened parts, by this anxiety. So it's really important to be able to shift out of them. So you should be 95% of your day thinking, feeling, behaving in alignment with your true self, with that higher energy within you. So I hope that helps, guys. I hope that makes you realize that comparison mindset, that all or none kind of extreme thinking, that everybody has it all together except me, I'm defective, I'm doomed, that comes from frightened parts of your personality. And what's underneath, what's driving all of those frightened parts, that compelling, that that extreme thinking is painful emotions. And so if you need a little more help with this, what you can do is join my private Facebook group. I'll link it below the video. We got a great group of guys in there. They're holding space, they are witnessing each other's healing, and they are there to support each other. So you're more than welcome to join the group. I'm in there, you can ask me questions and have my guidance in there. And if you need more help with this, because I know it is a struggle, it's a really tough one to get through. If you need more help, what I've done is I've created a free training video for you. I'll link that below the video as well. So what you can do is you can go and watch the free training. It'll show you what's driving those frightened parts of your personality, what's driving the comparison, and it'll show you the system to go in and reprocess everything so there's no more painful emotions, there's no more frightened parts dragging you in every sort of direction, into comparison, into meaningless goals, into just a hamster wheel. All right? So I hope that helps, guys, and I will talk to you later. All right, peace, guys.